Welcome to Pass the Outlet, episode 35. I'm your host, Michael Benjamin, joined as always by my wingman, Chris Patrick. The bright lights are in the big city this year. Chris, how you feeling tonight, man?
Feeling good, Mike. A little bit tired. You were generous enough to take me to that Suns game last night. And as any returning listener knows, I live pretty far out here, pretty far away from the stadium. So, but I had a lot of fun. It was a good game. And man, I can't believe it's already the All-Star break. This NBA season is just flying. First, the football season ends. Now we're getting to the back half of the NBA season. Right around the corner, spring training will be starting, man. But I'm excited to talk about it, all of it. How are you doing, Mike?
I'm doing great. I mean, you started it off right off the rip. The reason that we did not go live yesterday, we had to push the day back, is because we were seeing the number one overall pick, Cooper Flagg, lose to the Phoenix Suns. It was a great game. It was a blowout for a while. Then the Mavericks made it competitive towards the end, but the Phoenix Suns finished off with a win. We got a lot on the docket tonight, but of course, here on Pass the Outlet, we break down the beautiful game of basketball. And tonight, we're headed to Tinseltown to preview the 2026 NBA All-Star Weekend. New formats, familiar faces, and Matt Ishbia's heading back to the hardwood. I can't wait to see it. Chris brings us the news from around the net, and on the outlet point guard, we'll look back at the years of a 2000s Clipper legend. But if you're here with us live, watching the playback on Valley Sports Plug YouTube, or listening on podcast streaming services, we love y'all. Make sure you subscribe to the VSP YouTube channel, leave a like on this video, and click that notification bell so you can stay up to date with everything going on here at Valley Sports Plug. But tonight, we have to start with some breaking news, Chris. The 2026 Basketball Hall of Fame finalist list was unveiled, and we have some familiar faces possibly headed to Springfield. We have to start with old reliable Kevin Johnson, the point guard from those 90s great teams. Head coach Mike D'Antoni is also a finalist, and the big man, Amari Stoudemire, the forward from Cypress Creek High School, is a first-time finalist for the 2026 NBA. Well, it's not NBA. It's the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. Chris, first initial reactions, man. What are you thinking?
Oh, I mean, like you even just said it in show prep, so I'll steal it, man. We forget just how good Amari was and how dominant he was with that 7 seconds or less team. We had the pleasure of enjoying Amari Stoudemire in his prime here in the Valley, and him and Steve Nash just had such a strong connection, a real good, 1-2 punch with the pick and roll, the pick and pop. And I mean, I think, a little bit underrated. He went to the Knicks, wasn't exactly the same player as he was when he was here in Phoenix, but man, I feel like this is much deserved. And if he's not a first ballot, I don't know. I don't know if we saw if this is his first chance at it or not, but definitely deserves it. And I have no doubt it'll happen one day, man. Really, really happy for Amari.
Man, I was a little bit caught off guard, man. Kevin Johnson, also a finalist. I mean, you just think about the catalyst he was for that 92-93 team alongside Charles Barkley, Dan Marley, all those legends to the Valley. And then Mike D'Antoni, man, I think you touched on it. That 7 seconds or less team really changed the NBA and moved it towards what we see nowadays. So I think all three of those guys are more than deserving of getting a finalist nod. Will all three of them make it this first time around? I have a hard time saying yes. But, I mean, all three of them, Chris, I think really have their own merits to make the hoop hall. So awesome to see those guys get finalist nods. We will be keeping an eye out and keeping everybody updated with that. With that being said, let's get into tonight's episode, Chris. It's safe to say the NBA business has been booming, and we have to take a look back at the craziness that was the NBA trade deadline. You know, it all kind of started when Trae Young was dealt to the Wizards. But man, there's just lots of big names like normal, and then you got some surprises, right? We had young guy Jared McCain headed to OKC, Ivica Zubac, who I thought was a borderline all-star this year, heading to Indiana. The pest Jose Alvarado is headed to New York to play in his hometown for the Knicks. And then guys that we kind of expected to eventually be moved, like Jonathan Kuminga, heads to Atlanta. But my goodness, it was funny. I got a text from my brother-in-law saying, "What are the Bulls doing? Trading 7 players away, including Nikola Vucevic, to Boston?" But then we know the big moves. Jaren Jackson Jr. heading to Utah. Anthony Davis on his last leg, unfortunately, seems like heading to the Washington Wizards. And then the biggest of all, James Harden to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Chris, we see the list in front of us. What are your initial reactions to all the moves? Are you still surprised every year when NBA trade deadline comes around and you're like, oh my goodness, names are just flying to different places like crazy?
Yeah, honestly, man, I mean, this is what I want every year. And I mean, we didn't see the big shoe drop, which I think everyone was wondering where Giannis might go. Now we might have to wait till the off season. But yeah, immediate reaction. And first of all, I have to say, I love this graphic here, Mike. This is beautiful. This is just a perfect representation, easy to digest. I absolutely love it. But man, yeah, Chicago, what are they doing? Just gutting half of their roster, shipping them out. This trade deadline really did a number on my fantasy team. I do have Vucevic, also have who is it? Oh shoot. Went to the Clippers for Harden. It's literally right here. Yeah, Darius Garland. Yeah. But he hasn't played. That's why I forget his name, is because he hasn't played all season. He's been injured and on the bench. I think I had him for all of 2 games before we went back out again. He's like the Jalen Green of the Cavs. Well, I guess the Clippers now, but shots fired. But yeah, man, the one that I thought was kind of crazy is James Harden. There's a lot of weird stuff coming out about that, where it's like he did ask for a trade, didn't want to trade, didn't know it. Nobody's really sure, but James Harden's always had this cloud of weirdness around him his entire career. But yeah, interesting. He's going to go team up with Donovan Mitchell in Cleveland. I think that could be dangerous. See what Harden still has left in the tank. And then Triple J, is that what they call him? Jaren Jackson Jr., man. Thought he was kind of having a little bit of an odd year in Memphis. I don't really know what the Grizzlies are doing, because it seemed like they had a lot of young talent, but now they're kind of shipping everyone out. Him going to Utah to join Lauri Markkanen, like that team could be pretty dangerous, but yet they're tanking. There's just a whole lot of weirdness going on around the league right now. I mean, man, that was another one. Like John Morant, like there wasn't really much of a market for him. Nobody seemed to really be biting, and he stayed in place too. But man, I know your fantasy team had a bit of a shakeup too, with Zubac going to Indiana there. Well, I don't know, man. What stood out to you?
Well, I got a couple of winners that I have to list right off the rip. And the first one, it has to be the Cleveland Cavaliers, Chris, for them to be able to move off the injury-prone Darius Garland, who has a nice big contract. They actually were able to move the 3 guys that were the lowest on their plus minus for the season. They got rid of DeAndre Hunter as well as Lonzo Ball. That one kind of sucks. I was hoping for a resurgence from Lonzo, because I think he did everything he could, after missing 2.5 seasons. But the underrated moves that Cleveland did make with bringing in Keon Ellis from the Sacramento Kings, as well as Dennis Schroeder, the grizzled veteran at this point, I think it's prepping Cleveland to make a nice run in the Eastern Conference, because there's still a lot of unknowns in that conference right now. But I would say the biggest winner outside of James Harden for me, Chris, is the Boston Celtics adding 15-year veteran Nikola Vucevic. That, once again, that's another one, prepping them for a deep Eastern Conference run. I mean, we were looking at their record yesterday, Chris, and we're like, Jason Tatum is on the brink of coming back. Where are they sitting? Second in the East, man. They're ready to go. And they also dipped under the first apron, swapping out Anthony Simons' $27.7 million for about $21 million for Nikola. So Yeah, it's never surprising to see big names. I think a lot of people would say, whoa, Anthony Davis. I think the Dallas Mavericks are trying to get completely away from the stench of the Luka Doncic trade. And Anthony Davis is just continuously injured. So you don't want to continue to pay that capital if you're not getting anything in return. But Chris, we also have to look at the Phoenix Suns. They did make a trade. It was actually a 3-team trade. They sent Nick Richards to Chicago, and Nigel Hayes Davis to Milwaukee in return for Amir Coffey and Cole Anthony, both from Milwaukee. Ousmane Dieng also went to Milwaukee in the 3-team trade. But as far as what the Phoenix Suns got, we actually saw Amir Coffey play last night. He was getting minutes in the fourth quarter. It was a good start for him, I'd say. He has some work to do to get into the mix of this guard-heavy, forward-heavy lineup that the Phoenix Suns do have. But the big reason why this trade went down is we knew that both of those guys, and Nick Richards and Nigel Hayes Davis, were expendable pieces, and the Suns were continuing to try and dip under that luxury tax, which is what they were able to do with this trade. That is so big moving forward for the pieces that can be brought in for years to come. And it does sound, on Monday, they said Cole Anthony is expected to be released. I don't think that news has dropped just yet, but that makes the most sense. Like we said, we are already so guard and forward heavy. There just wasn't going to be a place for him. But what did you think about the Suns move, Chris, moving Nick Richards and Nigel Hayes Davis?
I think it answers a lot of our questions from the offseason, around the draft when they drafted Malawach. At the same time, they had traded for Mark Williams, right around, either right before or right after. And we had just gotten Nick Richards prior in the season prior at the trade deadline, I believe, from our new favorite trade partner, the Charlotte Hornets, not the New Orleans Hornets. But yeah, man, I think it was good to get off of Nigel Hayes Davis. They took a flyer on him, EuroLeague MVP, liked what they saw, but he just never panned out. And as far as the Nick Richards move, though, I think that was good because he just kind of had a bit of a logjam at center. Oso Ighodoro's kind of been emerging as a very viable piece. And so if you can move him, why not? And the return of Coffey and Cole Anthony, I thought Cole Anthony was a better player than he really is, but that could just be name recognition because his father was a pretty good player. It doesn't always work out for the Nepo babies or whatever you want to call them. Bronny James will be out of the league before you know it. But yeah, man, Amir Coffey, I think with Jalen Green and Booker out tonight to rest going into the All-Star break, I expect Coffey will probably get another 10 to 15 minutes, maybe a little more even with Booker out. But I think he brings good size and he's able to play some solid defense. I also find it, for my money, and this could be reaching, but I think he's kind of in that sweet spot age-wise where he'll fit in really well with this team because he's 28 years old, which means he's been in the league for a while. He's got a good amount of experience, but he's not too old to where his knees are shot. I mean, you hope anyway. So I think right now they're going to roll him out there tonight. They rolled him out there yesterday. And then however he does tonight, I think that'll determine the amount of play time he gets post All-Star break, especially once we get back to full health and you get guys like Grayson Allen and Isaiah Livers back in the mix. I don't know if Livers gets a lot of minutes, but it's another guy to consider. We've had a deep bench this year, man, but like the moves, man, like the moves.
And I think that is just a big piece for why Amir Coffey was one of the key catalysts in this trade coming back to the Phoenix Suns. You really have to look at where the Suns sit now, Chris, at 32-22, firmly in the 7th spot. It's going to take a collapse for the Phoenix Suns to not at least be in the play-in. So you have to continue to maintain throughout the rest of the season after the All-Star break, but you don't want to bleed guys thin. We've already talked about the issues with injuries in Grayson Allen this year. We know what's happened with Jalen Green as well as Devin Booker. So to add another piece into the rotation that can get 15 to 20 minutes if he continues to contribute, it's just the kind of guy that the Phoenix Suns need right now. I know a lot of people wanted to go, well, where's the power forward? Where's our height? You touched on it perfectly once again. Oso Ighodoro is having a second-year bloom, which is absolutely incredible. So you have to continue to put him on the floor and stretch his minutes out because he is a contributor on both sides of the floor at this point. So Amir Coffey, I like his game. I was talking to you about, I liked him off the bench for the Clippers the past couple of seasons. He's a guy who can go to the rim. He's a bucket getter, right? So how is he going to contribute on the defensive end? That's going to be the biggest thing. So we'll see how he fits into the mold with this group. But I'm excited, and I think it was a great move, Chris. But now, like I said, we're headed to Tinseltown. It's time to move on to the 2026 NBA All-Star Weekend, which technically kicks off on Thursday, February 12th with the Creator Cup on YouTube. You know how big social media and content creators are nowadays. We start to see those bleed over onto the other platforms like us here on YouTube right now. But then Friday is when it really kicks off. We have the Ruffles NBA All-Star Celebrity Game at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Bunch of cool names this year, Chris. Keegan-Michael Key, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Glorilla, Big Man Taco Fall. And then the big one, the Valley guy, Suns owner Matt Ishbia makes his hardwood return. I know there was those infamous clips of him getting a nice hard bucket through a foul during his mortgage matchup game, at his facility in Ohio. But I'm excited for that one, man. I think that's going to be fun to see him get out there and see, he's not a spring chicken, but I think he'll go out there and get some buckets, hopefully. Then we also have the Rising Stars Challenge, like normal. The formats continue to change within the NBA All-Star Weekend, and it's going to be similar to what we see with the All-Star games. We have Team Mello versus Team Austin, and then Team Vince Carter versus Team Mac, the cousins going up against each other with the championship at 8:35 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Chris, do you ever really watch the first couple of days of the All-Star game, or are you kind of just like a Saturday three-point contest All-Star game kind of guy?
It's funny you mentioned that because I was thinking about it over the last couple days, and I always see the rosters and all the build up for the celebrity game, and I'm like, "Ooh, that's interesting." And there's some intrigue here. You got Shams Charania is going to lace him up, and people are going to see just how good this NBA insider is at playing basketball. Hopefully, he's better than he was reporting on the trade deadline. But I mean, to answer your question, Mike, not really. I always think about it, and then it passes, and I'm like, "Oh, I didn't turn that on. Oh well." But yeah, I'm a really big fan of the 3-point contest, the dunk contest. The All-Star game itself has really lost a little bit of luster. So it might just be those two events. Back in the day, I did really like the skills challenge. I don't know. I think there's still some appeal there. I know last year, the big story was Chris Paul and Wemby trying to cheat it and blow through all their checkpoints. But no, I think it's good. It's a good slate. I was just scrolling through here, and they got a lot of stuff going on, and it's crazy that it's going to be on NBC Peacock, considering they also have the Olympic coverage going on right now. So a lot of good sports content over there. But yeah, Mike, I'm really looking forward to it.
I'm really excited for this one. It's coming up really fast, just within a couple of days. I mean, technically it starts tomorrow, but we got our Valley guys in it. And I think the bigger thing to keep in mind too, Chris, if you're a fan in the Valley and you have any interest in possibly going to the All-Star festivities next season, because next year, Phoenix will be hosting the 2027 NBA All-Star Weekend. You absolutely know we will be out there getting some content, going to the special fan fest, all that good stuff. The one thing I do regret immensely was that I was not able to go to the All-Star Weekend when they had it in 2009, which was the last time they had it out here. So I will not be making that same mistake. But Chris, we got to stick with All-Star Weekend, and we go on to Saturday night, where Devin Booker will make his 5th appearance in the 3-point contest, going up against, I might say, some heavy hitters, Chris. All-Stars Tyrese Maxey, Norman Powell. You got Donovan Mitchell, as well as first-time All-Star Jamal Murray, the rookie Con Knuppel from Charlotte Hornets, who is having one of the greatest rookie shooting seasons in league history, where he's shooting 42% on 8 3-point attempts per game, Chris. Then I think the big surprise for a lot of people, as he has not played a game yet this year, Damian Lillard, the fan favorite, the guy who always seems to be in the 3-point contest year in, year out, will be a participant this year. Chris, what do you think about the field, and who do you have for a favorite?
It's interesting. I like not to get ahead of ourselves here, but I do like the 3-point field a lot more than the dunk contest field. I did not know Damian Lillard was going to be a part of this. Is he even going to play a normal game this year? Is he like close to a return?
I don't think so, Chris. That's the thing. So, hey, just hopefully he's not elevating too high and messing with that Achilles. But yeah, it's crazy. I love it though. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, why not? He fits right in. I know he loves this event, and I like that this is still an event that the big names are willing to participate in as well. Obviously our boy Devin Booker, and if a lot of people might not know this, but he has won this 3-point shooting contest before. One of the first times he was in it, I believe, maybe the second or third, can't remember for certain. But it was funny. It was, I think, after the game yesterday, it was Kellen Olson or someone asked Devin Booker basically straight up if he was surprised that he got invited to compete in the 3-point contest, because the stats haven't been, as you pointed out, very impressive. And Book, being very self-aware, very humble, was like, yeah, I was a little bit surprised, but I'm happy to go do it, represent for the Valley and my teammates and the NBA as a whole, and make it a good product. So I think it's awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. And hey, I hope Book gets his second 3-point contest win, because that would be pretty cool.
That would be amazing, because you have to remember the last time that he was in the 3-point contest technically wasn't the last time. I think the last time was 2020, but the last time he was in the 3-point contest in LA was 2018, where he set the then record 28 points to win that contest. So rooting for Book always. My favorite, man. I mean, normally if Damian Lillard was healthy, he would be my favorite. I don't know, man. I might be leaning towards Tyrese Maxey. I feel like he's one of those guys, pretty new all-star. I think this is his second all-star game, if I'm not mistaken, but first time starting. He wants to show out and set Philly on the map a little bit more than they have been. So maybe he might be my favorite. But I'm going to put some scratch on Devin Booker. But yes, Chris, there are some other events that are going on Saturday. It's the first time since 2015, the Kia Shooting Stars is coming back, Chris. You think the last time that the competition took place, Team Bosch with Chris Bosch, Dominique Wilkins, and Swin Cash won that event. But we have 4 teams, Team All-Star of Scotty Barnes, Chet Holmgren, and the Masked Wonder, Rip Hamilton. You also have Team Knicks, Karl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, and Allen Houston. That's a great name, man. He was one of my favorite Knicks of the 90s. You also have Team Cameron, Con Knuppel, Corey Maggette, and Jalen Johnson, which I think Team Cameron is a nod to Duke. They all went to Duke. That's where I think I'm getting that from. But then you also have the father and son team of Team Harper, Ron Harper Sr., Ron Harper Jr., and Dylan Harper of the San Antonio Spurs taking place in that. That'll be awesome to see coming back. It's been more than a decade, so I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. But then, yes, Chris, the AT&T Slam Dunk Contest. We have the Magic's Jace Richardson, Miami's Keyshawn Johnson, the Los Angeles Lakers' Jackson Hayes, and then San Antonio and former Arizona Wildcat Carter Bryant in the field this year. I feel like the reason why we don't get the best of the best in the dunk contest, Chris, is because it has literally just become a meme machine at this point. And I don't think guys want to put themselves within that boat. So that's why you're seeing kind of lesser name guys that are willing to go into that. But, I'll give credit to Jackson Hayes. He was one of those memes that did come out over the past couple of seasons, but he's getting back out there again to compete. So, of those 2 last events for All-Star Saturday, who would you put scratch on? How about that? We know you're not watching the Slam Dunk Contest with a keen eye, but maybe who might you put some money on, Chris?
Well, Mike, the problem is with this is that I don't know any of these guys. Obviously, I know Jackson Hayes, but I literally was, while we were chatting here, I was trying to look it up, and these guys aren't even in the NBA, most of them. They're in the G League. Which I know obviously is still the highest, one of the highest levels. Like, it's like the old Brian Scalabrine thing. I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me type of thing. So these guys are good ballers for sure. Obviously they got bounced if they're in the slam dunk contest, but I want the big names, man. But answer your question. I mean, Jace Richardson, Nepo baby. Let's go. Right. That's Jason Richardson's son.
There it is.
Let's go.
There it is. Okay. We are not financial advisors, folks, but never hurts to put some money on the Nepo babies. Oh my goodness. But yes, Chris, We head into Sunday, February 15th at Intuit Dome in Inglewood, California, where obviously the Los Angeles Clippers play. It's about 25 minutes outside of downtown Los Angeles. And that is where the 75th NBA All-Star Game will be kicking off at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And the new format this year is 2 U.S. teams and 1 world team will compete in a round-robin tournament featuring 4 12-minute games. Then the 2 top teams with the best records will advance to face each other in the championship game. This year's list, it changed a little bit. You can see from this graphic, we had Kawhi Leonard, who was added to meet the quota to match up for U.S. players to make the teams even. Then we had some fill-ins. Houston's Alfred Şengün is replacing Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on the world team. And then Toronto's Brandon Ingram is replacing Steph Curry, who will not be playing this weekend as well. But we got a couple of first-time All-Stars, man. I always love shouting these guys out. Norm Powell from the Miami Heat, averaging 23 points this year, having a stellar season. Danny Avdija from the Portland Trail Blazers, also a huge catalyst for the continued move in the right direction, I would say, for the Portland Trail Blazers since DeAndre Ayton went there. And, you know, things have been getting a little bit better since he left, I might say so myself. Then you also have Chet Holmgren, Jalen Johnson from the Atlanta Hawks, Jamal Murray. That one blew me away. I cannot believe that he has never been an All-Star yet. And then big man who we just watched a couple of weeks ago, Jalen Darryn from the Detroit Pistons, making the list. Chris, out of the list, let's do it, man. Who do you think should not be on this list, Chris?
Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so I'm not going to say I wasn't listening, but who did you say was added to fill out?
So we had Şengün.
Şengün, okay.
He's taken over for Shai Gilgeous, and then Brandon Ingram from the Raptors just took over for Steph Curry.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense because Brandon Ingram should absolutely not be in this game. I thought he was going to be the next Kevin Durant in this league. Solid player, but just never really like panned out, and he's kind of bounced around, which, you know, through no fault of his own. I think Jalen Johnson is a bit of an odd one.
I'd be careful with that.
Okay. I might eat my words there, but yeah, Brandon Ingram seems like a weird one to me. I know Norman Powell has been having a sneaky good year just because he's on my fantasy team and he's been putting up numbers. But yeah, man, I think that's probably. I think everyone else makes sense for the most part. I'd say
everybody but Jalen Johnson, who you said I can be in agreement with. Jalen Johnson has been performing for the Atlanta Hawks to the point where they were very comfortable with trading Trae Young because Jalen Johnson is now the face of that franchise and will be for years to come. He is a small forward, power forward that plays on both ends. He has taken a huge step this year. And last year he did as well until he had an injury that kind of took him down for the rest of the year. But the one name on here, Chris, what I am just not okay with, and it's not because I don't think he is an all-star overall within his career, is the former finals winner, Pascal Siakam for the Indiana Pacers. The way that team has been performing, which I think we expected them to take a dip this year, but for them to be almost a laughingstock at points, performing in the Eastern Conference this year, how they have, they are the last place team in the NBA, Chris. They are 14-40. Okay, technically they're the second last because Sacramento Kings are 12-43. I thought this league was predicated on the best players on the better teams because go back even 10 years ago, we were always wondering, well, why aren't our guys getting that? Well, because they were always on bad teams. And now you're rewarding Pascal Siakam for this. This is where you get into the situation where I think that he was nominated because you needed to fill out the world team, which I just don't think is okay overall for guys who were much more worthy of being all-stars this year. And you can specifically talk to the guy from the Phoenix Suns and Dillon Brooks. I know you have to work out these teams so they're even, so you have the matchups, this, that, and the other. But let's be realistic. Dillon Brooks has been the major catalyst for the Phoenix Suns, exceeding all expectations this year. And yeah, you could call me a homer, but I know I am not that far off from a lot of other just NBA fans' sentiments when they think that Dylan Brooks should have been an all-star this year. So I'm not okay with it, but we're going to watch the game. We're going to have some fun. I guess the last question for you, Chris, what do you think of the format? I think I already know the answer, though.
I'm so glad you asked. And I've talked on this a bit in recent streams. Okay, I guess here's the truth, Mike. I don't care. I care in as much as I think it's stupid. And I think they should just go back to the East versus West format. But sure, let's try something new. It's very similar to last year, and it was not well received. So I don't know why they're trying to run it back with just like a slightly bit of a tweak. But I don't know, man. Like you said, I'm still gonna watch it. I think like the 4 12-minute games thing is interesting, and it's just I don't know. Like, are they asking the players what they think of this? Because like it seems like there's already like very minimal effort in all-star games historically, but then you throw this weird format out there and it's like, does it make it more competitive, less competitive? I guess we'll see. I do have to add, I've been sitting on this because I just watched it today. I didn't know that Nick Wright and Bill Simmons had a podcast together, which I will never go out of my way to listen to. But Nick Wright did have a funny commentary and a thought. He said, how you fix this, and you can do it in a couple years, is you do white players versus black players. Ridiculous, would never happen. But he's like, these guys would try hard. They'd be going at it. I don't know if I believe that, but it's funny, right? It's funny.
It's funny. I feel like Bomani Jones said that a couple of years ago as well. That is hilarious. But yeah, I don't know. Like I had said before, I think we had touched on it at one of our other streams. You got to give him credit for trying, but when are we going to find something that sticks, man? Like, what happened to the All-Star games that we used to know from the 90s and the early 2000s? I think maybe one of the first switches that I would make is bring back the jerseys for each team. Wear your jersey, wear the colors jerseys. One team is wearing white, but they're your team's jersey. There was something special about that. And you can patch it out all you want. I mean, I get why they do the one similar jersey so you can get fans to go out and buy stuff. We all know it's about the almighty dollar at the end of the day. But I think the last thing I'll touch on too, Chris, is I hope Adam Silver is having conversations with the NBA PA, because you want to continue to have the best of the best coming out. And if you continue to swing and miss, you're not going to have those guys want to come back on consistent basis to do all of the other stuff that goes along with All-Star Weekend, not just the game. But this is one of my favorite times of year, man. As we stretch into March, we know that March Madness is right around the corner as well. But let's get through the All-Star Weekend. And Phoenix Suns fans, we have a lot to root for this weekend. But with that being said, Chris, what do you got for tonight on the Social Swish, man?
Yes, Mike, the Social Swish, all the news from around the net being brought straight to your front door. I did some digging today, and I think this one is good to start with because, like you said, we went to that Suns game last night, and it for me was a really good lesson in watching the game in person when you're not on the TV with all the graphics and the advanced statistics, and there's things you miss. And I missed this, Mike. And this was from our friends over at r/Suns and user Hellcat Cruiser. He said, this is getting diabolical. And it's a picture of Jalen Green on the bench. And it shows that graphic I was talking about that you don't see unless you intentionally go to look at the scoreboard, which I don't even know if they would have it. I think they probably would. You'd know better than me, but it shows the free throw differential with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. The Dallas Mavericks had taken 36 free throws and the Phoenix Suns had taken just 3. I'll repeat that. Dallas took 36 free throws and the Suns had only taken 3. I think those numbers obviously changed a little bit, but it didn't erase the gap. Dallas still got to the line way more. And it's interesting, Mike, because it kind of makes sense. Like I heard Jordan Ott post game, he was talking about it and said that it really slows down the game. And when you are always having to come down to a set defense, you can't get any transition points. It makes sense how Dallas was able to chip back after being down 30 is because the refs interjected themselves and slowed down the game. And I know I'm supposed to kick this to you, but man, it's like, it's very interesting to me because Let me see what you think here, Mike. You tell me what you think.
Well, yeah, those numbers did change. Mavericks ended up with 44 free throws, 32 of 44, and the Suns were 6 of 9. 6 of 9. I mean, my goodness. Obviously, with how fast paced the game started, the Suns were flame throwing from outside. Before you even knew it, it was a 30-point game. Yeah, it was a little surprising. I'm just always confused how bigger bodied teams, which you could say was the Dallas Mavericks with the lineups that they were trotting out there with, Marvin Bagley just reacquired, Cooper Flag himself. Like, they overall were bigger guys than the Phoenix Suns. We know that the Suns have been playing smaller this year. You can't tell me the body control of these 6'10" guys is just always perfect when they're contesting on the defensive end. It does kind of come into play, though. How many threes did the Suns shoot overall? The Suns shot 50 3-pointers last night, Chris, comparative to 22. So the Dallas Mavericks were attacking the basket. I'm not trying to say these are the right numbers. If you're having 30 plus free throw disparities, you have to look in the mirror and see, how is this continuously, or how is this happening? In any case, in any game, it's just a little bit crazy. But yeah, there were two different styles of basketball last night. There was push the basketball, shoot from outside. Then there was attack downhill, get into the lane. So that's why the Mavericks had more free throws, but that number is just absolutely absurd at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's totally right. I think that's probably why I didn't think much of it during the game, is because the Suns were shooting from outside a lot, taking a lot of fadeaway jumpers from the mid-range. And they do play like a harder style of defense. And there were a couple times where Booker had swatted some arms, and then we got a call, and it was like, yeah, I could see that being a foul. But I totally agree. Like, the number disparity is just crazy. And the Mavericks getting to the line 22 times, or however many it ended up being, if there were and ones or whatever, like, that seems to be like a lot. And I forget, they were talking about it on the morning radio show, and I can't remember the ref's name, but apparently this ref has been known to call the Suns games very tightly and give the Suns some ticky-tack calls, because we are between Dylan Brooks getting another technical last night, and some of these other players that like to play a bit more physical. Whether you like it or not, they get a reputation around the league and with these officials, and the whistle comes quicker. And I don't think it's right. And I think Adam Silver should do something, but you know how I feel about Adam Silver. He's never going to do anything because he doesn't care as long as his pockets are getting lined. But what I was going to say when I was rambling, stumbling, and throwing it to you is I wonder if the call came in from New York where they said, hey, slow this one down. This is getting out of hand a little too fast. You guys gotta slow this one down. I joke, but it makes you think, man. Makes you think.
Yep. And we will see. I mean, the Suns are going up against OKC tonight, and no Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but we also know no Devin Booker, no Jalen Green. I think this was the last game before the All-Star break as well. So I think they're just trying to play precaution with those guys. Be interested to see what the numbers overall look like at the end of tonight. Well, why don't I pull it up while you're getting ready? The next Social Swish item. It's 59-37 OKC right now, Chris. See
with no SGA?
No SGA. Thunder are 9 of 15 from the free throw line. The Suns have shot more free throws tonight than the Thunder, 18, but they are 5 of 18 from. Oh no, that's 3-point line. My apologies. 10 of 12 for the Thunder, 2 of 2 for the Phoenix Suns.
Okay, so we're right back at it.
We're still in it, baby.
I gotta love it. Well, we'll keep a close eye on that one. I'll probably tune in if we finish up in time. I think the game will still be going on when we wrap here, and then you guys can all go watch it too. So stay here, and then we'll all go watch the Suns game together after Pass the Outlet. But Mike, we do have a few more here for the Social Swish. This one I find to be quite interesting, and it's a topic we've discussed in the past. This also is from Reddit r/NBA memes. Wonderful photo 9938. At this point, all MVP candidates might not meet 65 game requirement, and it's a graphic that shows Nikola Jokic, Victor Wembanyama, Luka Doncic in a Mavs jersey, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And Joker's missed 16 games, Wemby's missed 14 games, Luka 8, and Giannis more than 18 games missed, so he's already out of contention. Because correct my math here, 82 games, 82 minus 65. You can miss 17 games and still be eligible. So Jokic can miss one more. Wemby can miss 3 more. I think Doncic will probably be fine unless something happens. And Giannis is out. Giannis is out. So if all of these players end up, so hypothetical, Mike, if all of these players miss 18 games and they're ineligible, 18 or more games and are ineligible, does that make you wonder if they should reconsider this award stipulation?
No, I'm okay with this. You got to play to win awards. You really have to play. Guys should be playing 70 games a year. I understand missing a side game over here for some rest, or you tweak an ankle. Chris, these guys' jobs are athletes. You're supposed to play as much as you possibly can. So I'm totally okay with the 65 game requirement. The one thing that I might not be okay with is certain contract stipulations that are met with certain metrics that do come into account with these game played requirements. Because if you're going to make an all NBA team, you have to meet this same requirement as well, right? And if you don't, you might not be eligible for the Supermax, or you might not be eligible for a different type of pay bump in regard to contract structuring and whatnot. That's the one thing that I would say needs to be looked at a little bit more, because if teams want to pay their superstars more, give them the credit, obviously within the payrolls and all that stuff to meet the luxury. But that's where I get a little bit more concerned for those thresholds. But overall, I'm going to give you the guy who let's give the people a little bit of action. This might be a little bit of inside scoop for betting tonight. Chris, I blame you and Tallman. All right. I'm putting this solely on both of you guys. But you look at these guys listed. I don't think Luka is really going to have a chance, because the Lakers are going to be still right around that, 5 to 7 slot. You're normally seeing a guy who is from at least one of the top 3 teams in each conference win an MVP. Joker, I don't think there's a chance that he doesn't miss more than 2 games, or he's going to miss 2 or more games. So I think he'll be out of that. Same with Wemby. They're trying to make sure that those guys are as healthy as possible when the playoffs come around, because those teams, specifically in the Denver Nuggets and San Antonio Spurs, have to be at the top of the list when you talk about title contenders coming out of the West. But if you want to put some scratch on anybody, put it on Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons, guys. 25.3 points, 9.6 assists. He's in top 5 in assists in the league as a big guard, man. He's played 46 games this year. I don't know if he maybe missed 3 or 4, but he's relatively healthy consistently, and he has jump-started the Detroit Pistons this year to the top of the Eastern Conference. Now, MVP race is different than title contenders, but you have to put Cade into the conversation now. So if we're talking about these big name guys missing more games, I think that's the guy to keep an eye on.
That's very interesting, Mike. I did not even think about that, but it makes so much sense when you consider the season he's having and everything the Pistons are doing. I had to pull it up to take a look real quick. He is 3rd right now at plus 2,000, so it's not like he's super close, but you see Jokic there plus 300. I do think he's going to miss more time. So Shai Gilgeous back-to-back, we know that you're allowed to win it twice in a row. You can't win it 3 times in a row, but you can win it twice in a row. So I like it, Mike. I like it. I could put for plus 2,000, especially put $5 on that. You make a little dough.
Oh, 1,000. I'm going to put $20 on that tonight, Chris. Are you serious?
There you go.
The one thing that concerns me about Shai is he's in the similar boat. He's had this abdominal strain that put him out through the All-Star break. Now, the guys that I always get a little bit more concerned for in regard to injuries is obviously who's really, really big, tall, lanky guys like a Victor Wembanyama, but sometimes your smaller guards too. And Shai is technically kind of one of those smaller guards. With how much he commands the basketball, how much he is hounded, it just would make more sense that there could be a possibility that Shai could miss extended time again this season. And he might not even be in the race for that too. And if OKC and Detroit are neck and neck in regard to like standings wise or win-loss record, I think the committee might look at Cade and say, wow, we did not think the Detroit Pistons were going to jump up this fast. And that's the kind of guys that the NBA loves to give those awards to. So plus 2,000, easy. Do it tonight. Do it tonight. I am not a financial advisor though.
Yeah, no, don't wait though, because as soon as Jokic is no longer eligible, he gets yanked from that. If Shea starts missing some more games, his numbers might dip as far as the odds. But yeah, I like it, Mike. I like it. I think I might tail you on that one. But do have, I think, two more here for you. I kept it a little bit of a light slate tonight, as I knew we had a lot to go over. But this one, you asked me to find a graphic for this topic, little inside baseball there. But Mike, the Arizona Wildcats finally lost their first game of the season in a nail biter at Allen Fieldhouse in Kansas. Lost 78-82. And here's a post from KU Hoops, which is the Kansas men's basketball account on Twitter or X. And says the graphic shows Bill Self in this kind of cool Adidas Big 12 logo. And it says 40-0 all time under Coach Self in Allen Fieldhouse on ESPN Big Monday. So a lot of qualifiers there, but 40-0 on ESPN. It was specifically ESPN Big Monday, I thought was the interesting part, because it's not just 40-0 on ESPN, but as I'm sure they've been on ESPN a lot. But Mike, number 9 Kansas takes down number 1 Arizona. How big was this in college basketball?
It was a huge game, man. And I think it shows that Kansas has to be taken serious as a team that can have not a Cinderella story, but a Cinderella march to a possible championship. They are a great team. Bill Self is one of those guys who, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, he will be one of those first ballot Hall of Famers into the Naismith Pro Basketball Hall of Fame as well. But what a game. Like I already said, let's give some props to U of A first. The 23-0 start broke an 112-year-old record to start a season, as well as set the best start by a Big 12 team in Big 12 history. But I think the big news from this one was the underperformance of Jaden Bradley and Koa Pete. Only 6 point each from both of those guys. Braden Burries did have a nice game, 25 points. But Kansas was led by Flory Bedunga and Melvin Council Jr. with 23 points each. Juve did have a 3-point halftime lead. They were up by as many as 11, but Bedunga went on a personal 7-point run, and then Council closed out the foul line to end the game. But the biggest story about this one, Chris, and this is why I had to put it on here, is this freshman phenom, Darryn Peterson, which people are saying could be a consensus number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft. He went through pregame warmups, and then less than an hour before the game was a scratch for flu-like symptoms. People are confused about what's happening with this kid. He's missed 11 games this year with various issues, hamstrings, calves, ankle issues. People are really wondering if this kid even likes basketball, which I think is crazy. But it also shows you, man, the different levels that it comes to when it comes to basketball, and guys who can see successes going on to further their careers in the NBA, on the pro levels, anything like that. There's a commitment that comes to being one of the best and having longevity. And I think this is a terrible start for Darryn Peterson. I've just been listening to more news outlets, and I think one thing that is horrible is if I don't know you and don't know your game, but the only thing I know about you is everybody questioning if you even like or want to play basketball. It's not a good start or a good foot to get off onto. So I will say, going back to the game, hell of a game. This is what Big 12 basketball is all about. This is the best conference for basketball in the NCAA. And we're going to give a big shout out to our guy, Stephen Miller. We'll give him a Rock Chalk Jayhawk and some more inside baseball. Stephen will be with us next month on Past the Outlet, because we're going to do the bracket once again, ladies and gentlemen. We're doing the bracket again.
We got to do the bracket. And that's it, Mike. Like, we're like, what, 5 weeks away from the time, that time of year, and it's the best time for basketball. It's post All-Star break, NBA is in full swing, the NCAA tournament's going on. Man, I think it's going to be a lot of good teams this year too. A lot of good teams. Unfortunately, ASU once again will not be participating in that tournament. I can say that now. I'm making shocking prediction here. ASU will not be in the tournament. But yeah, Mike, this is very impressive. This 40-0 stat, Kansas in general. I feel a little bit guilty though, because I was listening to the radio and they were talking about it while I was doing some dishes, and I was thinking like, man, U of A's had a hell of a start. Like, they have not lost a game. Like, and everyone kept saying they're going to lose eventually. They're going to lose eventually. It's got to happen. Blah 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 blah. Nobody's ever been undefeated. But I was in my back of my head, I was like, what if they were undefeated? What if they were undefeated and run the tournament? And that was the night. Like later that night, I didn't admittedly, I didn't watch the game, but you guys were texting about it afterwards, and I was like, I'll be damned. Kansas beat them. That's crazy. But I think it is good for Arizona, which I know is kind of crazy to say, but it's good to get that loss out of the way, get it out now. Might lose a few more before the end of the regular season, and then kind of have those speed bumps on your way to the tournament and then see what you can do from there. But yes, super, super impressive for Kansas and Bill Self. Like you said, legendary coach. And yeah, they literally, the post said best to ever do it, and they're not wrong. Mike, I did say I had two more, so I'll do this last one, and this will just be real quick because I honestly don't care that much, and maybe that's the theme for me tonight, is just not really caring that much. But I don't know if you saw this story. This was around the trade deadline. This story came out, and I'll put it up here. This is on ESPN.com, and it's this guy Wetzel. I don't know who's the writer. Dan Wetzel. And he said, Giannis Kalshi deal does NBA no favors. And for anyone who doesn't know, Kalshi is this new prediction market site where basically it's kind of like betting, but you kind of just like predict, and you buy shares at like, so like it'd be like Giannis's next team, and it'd be like the San Antonio Spurs at 25 cents. And then as people buy it, those go up. So eventually your shares are worth more. And then once it closes, you cash out and you sell whatever you have as your shares, and whether it went up or down. So the reason this is not good, in my opinion, is because Giannis is like a shareholder, a main shareholder now, a face of the company, out there doing commercials and stuff. But when you have a guy, and there were bets on him, like I said, bets on him for what his next team will be, and he put out all this like subterfuge, if you want to call it that, or smoke screens of all these reports leaking out of where he's going to end up here. To people are saying like it might have been beneficial for him and his new partnership with this company to increase that value and get more eyes on it. Cause then he's like, hey, go, and he might not be saying it, but it's like, hey, go predict where Giannis is going to land next. I mean, am I reaching at straws here? Or do you think this is a bad look?
No, I think this is something that the NBA does not want to be a part of whatsoever. And the scary thing about this kind of stuff specifically, Chris, is, we're literally just coming off of all of the gambling accusations that were happening for multiple players. And then we have a guy who's becoming a face of some kind of weird market share betting thing. Like, I always wondered when I see all these advertisements for Kalshi, it's like, who's fitting the bill to keep pumping this BS in front of our faces? Well, it's Giannis Antetokounmpo, the multimillionaire. Okay. And I know it's not him, but you know what I'm trying to say. This is also the one thing I feel like as a player, when you're seeing all of these negative things, from Chauncey Billups to Terry Rozier, the main thing I would want to do is stay away from anything that could possibly put me into a situation like that. Because what happens if you have some kind of insider trading, like one of Giannis's 3 or 4 brothers putting money on this app and buying stock, and then it going up and them changing it because they knew where he was going? And that comes back to you. You want to give people the benefit of the doubt that they won't do that. But history is showing that these guys, man, they don't know how to keep their hands out of the cookie jar, unfortunately. So
literally, yeah.
I just think this is a horrible look. Not technically for the NBA, but I think for Giannis more specifically. And I know the NBA is going to hate this, but also, man, if you're I'm not a big gambler overall, but if you're somebody who's using this app, I just might take a look in the mirror. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Take a look.
Yeah, I feel like this kind of, I don't even want to call it gambling because it doesn't even really feel like gambling. Like, I mean, I
Is
guess
it like
people,
stock market kind of trading
it's
somehow?
it's basically functions like the stock market for in the simplest terms. Like, but the difference is being like it's not continually ongoing, right? Like there is an end where it's like, because there's even like normal like things that look familiar to betting. It's like will there be a streaker at the Super Bowl, and you can buy yes or no, and like however, so like that one I feel like could be pretty even. Like, but I think the highest it goes is $1. I could be wrong there, or 99 cents, something like that. But yeah, I think it's just not only is it a bad look, but like stock market manipulation is illegal in like the actual stock market. I have to imagine like there's some like consumer financial protection or something about this type of stuff. Because when you start messing with people's money, it gets to be a sticky situation really fast. And I agree. And again, like I'm not gonna say I'm like you. I do enjoy gambling. I'm not like a big gambler. I'm not out there all the time. I do place a little bet, probably 5-6 times a week, something like that. But I think that there is a certain level of like regulation and oversight and maybe even more stricter like restrictions that need to be around gambling because it is becoming a problem for a lot of people and a lot of players as you're seeing getting involved in this stuff too, coaches. And anytime you have sports gambling around the athletes who are participating in the sport, it is no good. It is no good. Now, this isn't the same as Giannis throwing a game, sure, but it's still, again, messing with people's money. And if he has information about where he's going and he's feeding that to select people, and I'm sure that people, I don't know if it voided the bet or the whatever when he didn't go anywhere, if that was an option. I didn't look at it. Maybe the option was he stays in Milwaukee, and maybe he knew that all along. And maybe he was telling people, like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. We're just putting out all this noise to like get the phone ring and to see what my value is or whatever. I don't know. We could sit here and speculate, but yeah, I'm like, I agree with everything you said. I don't think it's a good thing.
It's a weird situation, and call me a boomer within the thing about Kalshi. It's just not something that I'm looking to get involved in. I already have a lot of outlets and a lot of passions. I don't need to be betting and doing stock market trading on just every day, like if Sabrina Carpenter is going to win a Grammy. That's the kind of stuff that they're pushing through this kind of stuff. I don't need it. I don't want it around. Like I said, call me a boomer. That's fine. And I think you just are getting into a slippery slope if you start to be a spokesman for this kind of stuff. Now, I think it's different when you talk about the sports betting apps because, like you said, a lot of those are regulated and they've come a long way. They've been around for years now. So that is, and it's kind of ingrained itself into our everyday livelihoods as well. And I don't think there's anything wrong with putting a little bit of scratch on a game that you're going to watch and enjoy. But this is it's weird. It's just weird to me. I'm not about it. I guess that's really all I can say for it. But man, I think we're seeing the beginning of the end of Giannis overall, Chris. I really think so. He's not that old, but I don't think he's going to be able to be that kind of dominant player like he was wherever he comes back. And we know he's not going to be in Milwaukee. So unless he teams up with somebody, I don't know. And I'll ask you this. Does he strike you as the kind of guy who would want to go and build his own super team in like a huge market? Because he does to me. And then that changes the narrative of you overall on your legacy. But that's for another day.
Yeah, I could see it. But at the same time, it seems like he's more interested with just having all of his brothers on a team. I don't know.
He's going to start the Antetokounmpo agency whenever he's done. Well, Chris, appreciate you, man. That was a social swish. And now we are on to the outlet point guard. And Chris, I'm just going to throw this out. The Los Angeles Clippers. Obviously, we talked a lot about the NBA All-Star Weekend, which is at the Intuit Dome, which is the home of the Los Angeles Clippers. When I say that franchise, rattle off a couple of names that come to mind for you right off the top.
Oh man, I think I got to go back to my younger days. I think of like Corey Maggette, Katino Mobley, Elton Brand, shoot, man, Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, you start getting into the Lob City era. Wow, I thought I'd be able to name more Clippers than that. But honestly, I mean, they've been a poverty franchise for quite a while. But those guys, did have some exciting times.
No, and especially when we were kids, you think of all other guys like Sam Cassell, one-time Phoenix Sun Quentin Richardson, Darius Miles. Like they're for as bad as the Los Angeles Clippers franchise has been overall, you would say there are some really great players that came from that franchise, and it made sense for the outlet point guard this month. We had to look at, I would say, absolutely a Los Angeles Clippers legend, and he got his notoriety from being in Los Angeles. Chris, you already said his name. It's Elton Brand, the big man, the power forward, 6'9", 254. A lot of people would say that he was undersized for the position, but he was one of those guys who catapulted and had a great career. 17 seasons. He was the first overall pick in the 1999 NBA draft by the Chicago Bulls. Played for the 76ers, Mavericks, Hawks, the Bulls, and of course, the Los Angeles Clippers. But let's look at Elton Brand going back to the start, man. Right from his freshman year in high school, he was a star. He averaged 40 points and 20 rebounds a game at Peekskill High School in New York. He played AAU with a couple of big-name NBA players as well, with Lamar Odom and Ron Artest, and he led Peekskill High School to 2 state championships, was selected as the New York State Mr. Basketball in his senior year as well. But he is a Cameron guy. I'm surprised he wasn't considered for Team Cameron, but you said another guy who is on it, Corey Maggette. He played at Duke with Shane Battier, where he led the Blue Devils to the 1999 NCAA championship game as a sophomore, averaging 17.7 points and 9.8 rebounds. They were upset by another guy that we've done on the outlet point guard in Rip Hamilton and the Yukon Huskies. But while he did win the NBA Rookie of the Year in Chicago, he garnered his notoriety in the NBA from his time in LA at 7 seasons. He was a 2-time NBA All-Star. He was All-NBA second-team player in 2006. And that 2006 season, Chris, was his true renaissance. He averaged 24.7 points, shot 52.7% from the field, and he led the Clippers to a 47-35 record, which was their then best record in team history at that point, because you have to think before 2006, the Clippers were really a real bad franchise for a considerable amount of years. But that year, he was a strong candidate for the MVP. And I will also remember him very, very much because that year was when he took the Clippers and the Phoenix Suns to the brink of elimination, where they eventually lost in Game 7 of the Western Conference semifinals in 2006. That was a scary series, Chris. I mean, on this graphic, you can see Tim Thomas putting a hand up on an Elton Brand jumper. He was an absolute stud. You already named a bunch of those guys on that team: Sam Cassell, Cuttino Mobley. That was a scary squad, and I think it took a lot of people off guard. But the card we have today here is an Upper Deck R-Class 2004-2005 basketball card signed by the man himself, Elton Brand. This was technically his 6th year in the league for this card. But I like this card because 04-05 was the first year that I was a Phoenix Suns ball boy. So, Chris, when you think of Elton Brand, I know you named him one of your top 3 guys that you think of for Los Angeles Clippers. What do you think of the big man, Elton Brand?
Yeah, what's crazy is, like, I would have sworn, maybe this is a Mandela effect, but I could have sworn Elton Brand was a 7-footer because he plays just so big and imposing and could grab boards like no other. But yeah, another thing that strikes me just from that graphic is how absolutely jacked Tim Thomas is. I don't remember him being so broad and stocky. Like, dude was hitting the gym for sure. But Elton Brand, dude, that was a guy who I swear I'm going to say this every time we do this outlet point guard, but NBA 2K, Elton Brand was a pretty solid guy. You wanted him on your team. He could grab boards. It was fun to play. Well, not fun to play as the Clippers, but I did play as the Clippers. You had Chris Kaman, Sean Livingston, a couple of those guys that we already mentioned, Corey Maggette. It's like we say they're a poverty franchise and they're bad because they've just never reached the mountaintop, and they, have early playoff exits. But like the Lob City era was a lot of fun too. They've had good, fun teams, but man, yeah, look at how imposing Elton Brand is. And I guess maybe I was just not paying close enough attention to the broader NBA in my childhood, but dude is quick. Dude is agile. I mean, getting up, and this was in my opinion, one of the best eras of the NBA because you had the skills where people could shoot. They still had the physicality where people were taking it to the rim, playing hard defense. Look at that, coast to coast off the steal. You gotta, when you like you said, when you think about the Clippers, you think of Elton Brand, and I was trying not to name him when you told me to list what I was thinking of, but I honestly forgot who was the outlet point guard tonight. But yeah, Elton Brand, man, that's a good one. That is a good one.
You out yourself too that you
All the
forgot who
time.
it was.
All the time.
Yeah, I mean, looking at some of these older clips too, his time with the Hawks and the Sixers obviously wasn't as stellar, and that's because he was getting up there. I mean, the man played for 17 seasons, Chris, and he had injuries kind of like after season 11 and forward. But it's funny that you talk about how you thought he was a 7-footer because that's exactly what it was. He played dominant in the paint. He had a nice little 15-foot jumper, but he truly was a big man. He played the big man game consistently. And man, I just will always go back to that '06 series when the Phoenix Suns, following up the 04-05 year, going to the Western Conference Finals, were put to the brink by a Los Angeles Clippers team that nobody thought could truly compete in the West back then. And he was the guy for that team. Like I said, he was an MVP considered guy for most of that season. And that was really the glowing light of that franchise in a rather dark time. I would say before Lob City, like you said, too. So it just made sense. We had to talk about somebody from the Los Angeles Clippers. But I'll always say this, man. This is why I love the outlet point guard, watching old clips like that. Him backing down Rashard Lewis. Guys that you haven't heard of. It's starting to come up on like 7 to 8 seasons now. Guys like we talk about Amari Stoudemire getting to be finalists for the Naismith Hall of Fame at this point. Time is flying, and time is always flying when you're having fun. And I'm always having fun reminiscing on these guys. So, Chris, that was the outlet point guard. Shout out Elton Brand, man. We'll see. I don't know. I don't think he has the numbers to make it to the Hall of Fame. But the Clippers definitely got to put him in the rafters at Intuit Dome coming up soon. All right, Chris, I think we're coming to the end of tonight. I want to pass it over to you. Give the people anything else you got for tonight, and then we'll get on out of here.
Yeah, man, these streams always seem to, blink and it's gone. And I just love getting on here and talking hoops. It's always a pleasure. Never a chore. I do want to get this in here, though. I just got the notification. Dillon Brooks has picked up his 16th technical and is facing a 1-game suspension if it's upheld. He leads the league in technical fouls, and we are not even at, well, I guess we're at the All-Star break now, but there's a lot of games left, and we're going to need him. So I really need him to just calm down. I need someone to talk to him. I feel like he's gotten away with just, Dillon being Dillon. That's who he is. But like at a certain point, man, like you're a grown man, you're an adult. Like I get it. These refs, and that's the other thing. You're not helping yourself because the refs, like we were talking about, have know you. You start to build a reputation. They all talk to each other. You think these refs aren't talking to each other? They probably hate officiating games where Dillon Brooks is playing in it. And I feel like it's starting to bleed over into Devin Booker. Now, Devin Booker has, been known to chirp and pick up a tee, but he's number 6 for most technical fouls this season with 8 techs. He's nowhere near getting a suspension for it. But yeah, Dillon Brooks is going to get a 1-game suspension if it's upheld. And then if he continues to get technical fouls, they continue to tack 1 additional game on there. And if we're at a point where Dillon Brooks is missing too many games because of technical fouls, like you're hurting the team at that point. So very disappointing, but yeah, hopefully it's overturned. Either way, he's got to cut it out.
And it's crazy, man. Like his past 2 or 3 techs have been overturned. So we know Dillon's the villain, but we need you, bud. And he's been such a catalyst to the great start that the Phoenix Suns have had. He needs to be a catalyst down the stretch going into the playoffs as well. If we want to win a playoff series, man, at this point, we always talk about expectations changing. I think how well the Phoenix Suns have played this year, you got to start thinking that they can scratch off a playoff series win this year, man. And they're going to need him to perform. So, all right, Dillon, calm down. You'll be all right. But hey, we appreciate everybody. This was Pass the Outlet, episode 35. If you stay to the end with us. You're a real one. We appreciate you. Make sure you follow us at AZ_VSP on all socials. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to Valley Sports Plug YouTube so you can stay up to date with all the Valley Sports Plug action, I guess. You know what I'm saying? All-Star game, here we come. We're going to have some fun this weekend. Stay tuned for more streams coming up this next week as well. Every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we're coming at you live. But until next time, I'm your host, Michael Benjamin. That's Chris Patrick. We will see you guys next time. And go Suns, baby. Have a good night.